My name is Robert Basurto. I'm the Associate Superintendent of High Schools here in the Isleta Independent School District. I oversee 7 comprehensive high schools, an early college, and 3 alternative campuses. And speaking with you all, some of the programs and initiatives that we have, of course, we're talking about the behaviors of the adults in the organization, because we know that that drives everything, is how we work with adults, correct? And I know some of my principals mentioned about GRIT, and so GRIT was something that we adopted as a district where we use as a book study, and we assign chapters to each of the learning communities, because the way we're set up here, we have the Valle feeder pattern, the Isleta feeder pattern, we're set up by feeder pattern, so then the principals were assigned portions of the book, and they had to demonstrate activities, videos, anything that correlated to that chapter. So every month we had a different group presenting, and we discussed and immersed ourselves in GRIT, because that affects the behavior aspect of what do we believe, how do we go about business. On the other end, what we also focus on is the actual, in a race to look for that answer, right, about how do we improve instruction. Well, really, how do we improve student achievement? The bottom line is just a quality instruction. And very simple but very difficult to do. And it's not 101 programs, but it's really working with teachers, improving the quality of instruction in every classroom, because ultimately that's what's going to improve student achievement and student growth, right? And one of our major initiatives that we know works is content planning with our teachers, our PLC, professional learning committees. And so within that forum, and I attribute that kind of like an analogy like preparing for a game. You don't show up to a basketball game and to a race or to a football game and just play the game and assume you're going to perform. You have to put the work in at the back end to practice preparing up to the game. Teaching and learning is very similar in my mind. It's not just a matter of just showing up to the classroom and then all of a sudden miraculously you have quality instruction appear. You have to put the time in. It's content planning, looking at standards, looking at rigor and fidelity, and how does that work, and having discussions with your colleagues about what are the best approaches and best ways. And that in itself takes a lot of work. And but that's the heart of teaching and learning. And I think sometimes we get away from that because we have all these magic bullets that we're seeking out to raise scores, and that's not the way it works. It's one teacher at a time in every classroom receiving high quality instruction is what's really going to matter. Now, coming back to the other end, the GRIT aspect of the book just correlates because you got to have the attitude and the right people to drive the work. And so they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. You can have this program or this initiative, but if you don't have the people in the drive that are working seamlessly together, it's not going to happen. And also, the other end, you can have everybody rowing in the same direction, but if you have nothing or a venue or a vehicle to go to, you're just driving aimlessly or somewhere, and so they go hand in hand. And all that being said, it sounds very simple, but it's very difficult to do because you've got a group of people, teachers, administrators, and then working with your students, and how we provide that leadership at the campus and to drive the instruction on a daily basis.
How often do you meet in these committees at the school for the teachers to work on these things?
So in the Isleta Independent School District, especially in the high school level, we have 5 days, 5 days a week. It's five. Basically, teachers have 2 planning periods. One is their planning period, and the second, because we believe in this, is paid for by the district, where content teachers and elective teachers have a second period to plan. And so that's when you have your core teachers of the same grade level come in, and that specific period is for planning.
So that's once a week?
Actually, it could be anywhere from 4 to 5 times a week.
Oh, good.
Because this is daily.
And
so
how
a teacher
often?
has 2 periods off every day.
Every day? Yes. Oh, okay.
And one is designated for them in their personal time when they're making contact with with other teachers, about other items, or calling parents or things of that nature, paperwork, right, that teachers have to do. That's their designated time. However, the other period is designated for content planning. And at times also, especially for the freshmen and sophomores, we have small learning communities where students are housed within 4 core teachers. So in other words, the 4 core teachers share the same students, and that's where they start having discussions about students, and hey, I noticed this child is doing this, what works for him. If you reach him this way, that's how you're going to get through, or things of that nature. I noticed that for my class, he's been missing. Has he been missing in your class? So that's what we call a small learning community. But then also during that week, you'll also meet with your core content teachers that are like, say, from the same content, and that's where they start looking at standards and breaking down planning and looking at rigor and how are we going to deliver high quality instruction. And so that's hard work. And so,
what are some of your successes?
well, some of our successes here in the Southern Independent School District is we're very proud of the fact that we are the highest performing aggregate in the high school systems in the region. When you look at our end of course performance, we outshine the region. And the one in particular where we're really proud of is our Algebra 1 scores, including not just passing but also our final level 2s. We do a really, really excellent job. And it's because we have high quality teachers who care. They're relentless. I mean, it's amazing. They'll be there, and a matter of fact, we were visiting a PLC just this week, and we had our Algebra 1 teacher sitting at the table at a high school, and they were going student by student. And they're like, here's what we got to do, and it was never they showed grit because they were like, we're not going to give up, we're going to do this, it's got to be relentless and constant.
So I want to know, as you've moved into this is your first year doing this district-wide?
Yes.
And is this the first year you've had these daily or almost daily meetings with your PLC doing this?
No, it's been a tradition here in the district.
Well, how has the grit idea changed the meetings or your teachers' attitudes? Have you seen that change?
And you know, and that's a good question. You know, there for us to measure that, I'm sure that's
hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard to do. But I see this more as a overarching behavior of how we drive and how we behave on a daily basis. You know, a lot of what grit speaks about is doing it over and over and over, even if I fail 3, 4, 5 times. You know, and we have a tendency to, once we hit a wall, we give up and we just let it go, and then we go do something else. And see, it goes hand in hand with anything we do.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you implement, especially in a large organization, starting from the district down to even a comprehensive high school. Imagine you're working with 100 to 150 adults. So anything you're trying to implement and drive, you have to have consistency and perseverance. And you are going to hit barriers. It's just innate because you're dealing with 150 different personalities.
Right.
And that's it's almost a natural thing. So to me, the way I see this is the way we shape our behavior. That even if we hit a barrier, we stick with it and we keep trying, try again, maybe in a different approach, but we don't give up. It's perseverance. And to answer your question, matter of fact, like I told you, I was visiting instead of high school, and I believe it was Wednesday, and I saw these attributes. Why? Because I had a group of teachers sitting down. It's the end of the year. Think about it. They're tired. But the never say die attitude as they're going student by student, say, no, we're going to get it. We're going to get this student and we're going to work on it. And it was never I can't, he won't. It's here's what we're going to do. And if this didn't work, we're going to try this. Sometimes that's what's needed.
To me, that's what partly the strategy you're using is, to bring teachers together and sort of encourage each other and help each other not give up. Because they have ideas. Well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Is that what's going on? Is there collaboration to help these kids with a collaborative effort?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we've even broken it down to where we have identified essential characteristics that are that you're supposed to see within a PLC.
Right.
So it's not just a matter of getting the adults in the room and saying, okay, plan. There's got to be particular characteristics and traits that you want to implement and see for them to be effective. So don't think that just because, here's your planning time and people show up and miraculously things are going to happen. There's got to be very tangible things that teachers and administrators have to do together in an effort to improve student achievement. For example, you've got to have content plan, and there's specific tools where teachers understand, here's what we're going to teach, what does that look like, what are some of the things that we know kids struggle with, and what are we going to do about it? That's just one aspect. Another aspect is just even looking at student achievement data. How do we measure student growth throughout the year? Because, end of course assessments are summative. In other words, you take it one time at the end of the year,
right,
and it measures what they've learned. But you can't rely on just one assessment to tell you where you're going. You have to know along the way.
You have to have a formative too.
Correct. And so All those things are tangible activities that have to occur in our PLCs. And what we've done is we've tried to ensure that everybody understands them and says, okay, it's not just a matter of calling it a PLC and people, it just miraculously happens. The problem in education sometimes is that we don't spend enough time on the planning part. We're over here on the delivery, and that's good, but you got to have planning. And so for that planning to occur, you have to have specific characteristics or activities that go with it to get you here. And see, sometimes we just go straight to over here, and then we're looking at the observation and then thinking, well, improve it. But you got to put the practice in. You can't expect to run a great race or play a great game if you don't go and practice and do your free throws or train. And so I kind of try to make that analogy with our principals that way. We got to put in the back end of the work to see the delivery. And so it goes hand in hand. Now going back to the grit, doing that kind of work is hard work, and it can be frustrating. But that's why we're in the business. This is why we do what we do. And you got to love what you do, and then when you have issues or you have concerns or you have setbacks, because that always happens working with adults. You're going to have setbacks here. Because what do you do when those setbacks occur? Do you pick yourself up and keep moving forward, or do you give up and then go find something else to do? And that's what separates the good ones from the great ones. And when you do studies of the great people who've done great things, they show a lot of these characteristics. The never say die attitude. Hate to lose. And if I lose, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do something different. And typically your successful people show those kind of characteristics. My high school principals, they hate to lose. I hate to lose. And if I hit a barrier, I'm going to get myself back up and I'm going to try again and try maybe in a different way, but I'm not going to give up. I can't give up on our kids. And that's the attitude you got to have.